Hello, I am Peter Blackwood. Welcome back to Icon Diary. On the 18th of March, the Uniting Church in Australia commemorates Joseph of Arimathea. For a reminder of who Joseph was, let's hear about him from Mark's Gospel, where it tells of the burial of Jesus. When evening had come, and since it was the day of preparation, that is, the day before the Sabbath, Joseph of Arimathea, a respected member of the council who was also himself waiting expectantly for the kingdom of God, went boldly to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Then Pilate wondered if he were already dead, and summoning the centurion, he asked him whether he had been dead for some time. When he heard from the centurion that he was dead, he granted the body to Joseph. Then Joseph bought a linen cloth, and taking down the body, wrapped it in the linen cloth, and laid it in a tomb that had been hewn out of the rock. He then rolled a stone against the door of the tomb. To learn more about Joseph from a student of New Testament, I'd like to read a short piece by Father Brendan Byrne, a Jesuit scholar and one of my teachers. As I painted this icon of Joseph of Arimathea, I videoed it, and as we listen to Brendan Byrne, let us watch something of that painting journey. Joseph of Arimathea makes a brief but significant appearance in all four Gospels as the person who saw to the burial of Jesus. Arimathea is probably to be identified with a Judean town northwest of Jerusalem, known in Hebrew as Ramah, and associated in biblical tradition with the prophet Samuel. The designation of Arimathea probably simply indicates Joseph's place of origin. As a member of the Jewish council, he is likely to have been a long-term resident of Jerusalem. While agreeing in the essential point that Joseph was responsible for the burial of Jesus' body, the four Gospels vary considerably in their presentation of the scene and of Joseph himself, especially in regard to the motivation that led him to take the action that he did. In what is generally agreed to be the earliest account, Mark presents Joseph as a respected member of the council, Sanhedrin, who was himself looking for the kingdom of God. This information does not necessarily imply that Joseph was already a disciple of Jesus, as in Matthew and John. Many Jews at the time of Jesus were looking for the kingdom of God. It was in the context of such widespread expectation that Jesus entered upon his proclamation of the kingdom. Joseph then may have been led to ask Pilate for the body of Jesus and see to the burial simply because, as an observant as an observant Jew with a strong sense of social responsibility, he felt an obligation to see to the fulfillment of the prescription in Deuteronomy 21, that the bodies of the executed criminals should not be left unburied by nightfall. Nonetheless, as Mark indicates, going to Pilate and requesting the body of Jesus involved courage. And in so doing, Joseph ran the risk of association with the person and cause of one whom the authorities had executed as a threat to the state. If then Joseph was not a disciple at the time of the burial of Jesus, as also seems to emerge from the account of Luke, he was probably on the way to that allegiance. In presenting him unambiguously as a disciple, Matthew and John, as they describe him, as a disciple of Jesus, but secretly for fear of the Jews, he would then be foreshadowing a commitment on his part that occurred later on, but had its origins in an act of social responsibility towards the outcast that soon became enshrined in Christian memory and devotion. In the troubled history of relations between Christians and Jews, the courageous and generous action of this Jewish leader at the beginnings of that history deserves an honourable place. Later Christian tradition, besides conferring sainthood on Joseph, had him journeying as far as Britain, founding a church in Glastonbury and bringing the Holy Grail. At this point, however, we are in the realm of legend rather than reliable historical interpretation.